I've watched former CEOs sit in their first board meeting and nearly vibrate with frustration. They see a 50,000 operational leak and realize they no longer have the decision rights to simply reach over the table and fix it themselves. If you're transitioning from the C-suite to the boardroom and still have that operator's itch, you're not an advisor. You're a high-stakes bottleneck. You're trying to drive the bus from the back seat, and that's a recipe for a structural crash. By the end of this video, you'll have the boardroom detox roadmap to move from power to influence. Learn how to stop being the chief executioner and start being the sovereign architect of the company's long-term map. Enjoy becoming the high-value advisor who ensures the institution becomes exit-ready without having to do any of the heavy lifting yourself. I'm Adewumi-Zer, founder and CEO of Zer Consulting Africa. I navigate high-stakes boardrooms every day, witnessing firsthand the operator's itch that destroys governance. Having transitioned myself from being the chief firefighter to the architect of $400 million outcomes, I know exactly how to turn your C-suite power into boardroom influence. So let's talk about power versus influence. If you've been a chief executive, particularly if you've been a chief executive for a very long time, the next role after you step down is typically as a non-executive director. Non-executive. However, you've been used to executing. And so many times it can be very difficult in those first days to let go of those operator reins and allow the new CEO or any CEO to actually drive the bus. Most operators try to fix things from the back seat, unintentionally or intentionally chokes the growth of the current CEO and creates a sort of hero loop where we're trying to figure out who is actually in control. And what we end up doing, we unintentionally, is devaluing the firm for investors who want to see an institutional engine that can survive without you. So what you must do is actually intentionally fire that operator inside you. Let the sovereign advisor live. That means moving your wisdom from the steering wheel to the compass. To do this, you have to first remember that influence is a much higher form of leverage. Your value is no longer tied to how fast you can solve a crisis, but being there for the CEO to actually foresee that crisis before it happens, giving them that guidance, being on the lookout for them, even as they're driving the operations of the company. Next, you need to protect the architect in the chair. Your primary role in the board is to empower the current CEO to become an architect, not compete with them to be the hero. If you undermine the management by getting into the operational part, the execution part of their strategy, you'll actually end up scaring away the capital as they see conflict between the board and the strategic role and the executive team and the execution role. So start looking to audit the map, not the miles, which means to stop looking at the daily pings. You're not in the daily work. You're not the one who's going to roll up their sleeves and get stuff done, but you are there to look in the future and see what might be coming at the team. Looking at high stakes risk management, looking at governance, looking at the 10-year plan, looking at the 10-year impact roadmap. Power is about direct execution. Influence is about institutional endurance. To move from operator to advisor, you must trade your hero armor for a strategic floor plan. So tell me, what is the most valuable insight today? Realizing that your itch to fix is actually a scaling tax, or that you're ready to reclaim your source over your status? If you found this boardroom detox useful, like and comment with your most valuable takeaway. Subscribe and hit the bell to join us for our weekly sessions, and forward this to a peer currently taking the leap to a board role.